These Afro-Brazilians are marking the recognition of a tragedy, just a few steps away from the place where their ancestors, chained and bound, first set foot in Brazil, here at the Valongo Wharf, the main entry point for African slaves arriving in the Americas. It is located in Rio de Janeiro's port area. Of the more than 4 million slaves brought to Brazil, nearly 1 million landed here to be forced to work on Brazil's tobacco, coffee, and sugar plantations. In July this year, the stone wharf was given the status of a World Heritage Site by UNESCO, following a campaign led by Brazilian anthropologist Milton Guran.
It refers to an event in the history of humanity that humanity doesn't want to see repeated, such as Hiroshima, the target of the first nuclear bomb, or the concentration camp at Auschwitz.
Brazil imported more slaves than any other nation between the 17th and 19th centuries, and in 1888, it was the last country in the Western world to abolish slavery. Activists say the UNESCO designation will bolster their ongoing efforts to win reparations.
Esse papel vai servir para que nós possamos hoje.
This title will help us knock on the doors of public authorities, not only the Brazilian government, but all the European governments, to request some type of compensation.
The wharf was built in 1811 and was the busiest slave port in Brazil until the slavery trade was finally shut down. The site was eventually covered over. Though the exact location of the Valongo Wharf was discovered by chance during renovations for the Rio 2016 Olympics, another chilling fact was the finding of a mass grave in a nearby home. The home belongs to Merced Guimarães. Part of it has now become the New Blacks Institute, an archaeological site and museum. She says it has become her life mission to preserve the memory of those souls who perished here.
Viver e sofrer, sofrer e morrer.
Survive and suffer, suffer and die. It is very hard for me that these 30 or 50,000 people that were dumped here were witnesses of that crime. A crime that will continue if there is no memory.
Archaeologists are working at the institute where they have just discovered the first whole skeleton in the grave, a 20-year-old woman. The rest are bone fragments.
We found out that some bodies were burned, others destroyed by time. It is a small cemetery for so many bodies. So what we have here is a mass destruction of human remains.
Also excavated among the bones and refuse were such things as branding irons used by slave owners. As for the human remains, experts say it will take years to identify exactly who is buried here, if it's possible at all. With UNESCO's recognition of Brazil's brutal slave period, Afro-Brazilians are embracing the moment to force the country to come to terms with a past that can no longer be ignored. Lucrecia Franco, CGTN, Rio de Janeiro.